is a process that's taken months and been surrounded by controversy. Today we hear the results of the Senate Republicans' audit of Maricopa County ballots.
Plus, how scientists are using technology to learn more about Arizona's atmosphere.
And later on Break It Down, a look at why Black LGBTQ+ individuals face health care inequalities.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Lauren Quinlan.
And I'm Carolina Hassett. Thank you for joining us.
Today, after nearly 6 months, the results of the Senate Republican audit of Maricopa County ballots are out. Senate President Karen FANN and Senate Judiciary Chairman Warren Peterson presided over the presentation of the findings by Florida company Cyber Ninjas. The result? The audit found President Biden did indeed win in Maricopa County. However, they say there were problems with how the election process was run. Cronkite News reporter Rob Winder has been following the hearing.
Senate President Karen FANN began the presentation asking for people to have an open mind.
What you're going to see is exactly what it is, the truth. And those numbers were close, within a few hundred. But what you have not seen and not heard yet, which is what you are going to hear right now, what you have not seen and you have not heard is about the statutes that were broken, how chain of custody was not followed, how we had a number of issues, which is why people questioned the ballots and the elections.
What followed was a number of detailed presentations of the process the various audit groups went through to come to their conclusions. Some were head-spinning, including the explanation from the group that did signature analysis for early voting ballots.
Okay. In our case, the anomalies, we discovered 2,500.
While it wasn't the focus of the presentation, leaked early drafts of the report stated that Cyber Ninja's hand count of the ballots matched almost exactly the official tally from Maricopa County. In fact, Cyber Ninja's tally showed a wider margin of victory for Biden by a few hundred votes. Former Arizona Attorney General Grant Woods said he believed the audit proved the election was sound.
They proved that our elections were run well and that the count was accurate.
Woods commended county and state election officials and poll workers for how they conducted the 2020 election, especially under the difficulties of a pandemic. In Phoenix, Rob Winder, Cronkite News.
The auditors say some of the problems they found include duplicate voters and some votes from individuals who were deceased. During the presentation, Maricopa County, who conducted the election, tweeted fact checks and rebuttals, saying in many cases that the companies who did the audit just don't understand how elections are run. Outside the state capitol, dozens gathered to hear the results. Cronkite News reporter Peyton Muse shows us what's going on there.
People started arriving at the Capitol early this morning. Many here just to grab a seat for the presentation. Others wanted to make sure their voices were heard.
I've suspected that elections haven't been real for a long time, and I think a lot of Americans and Arizonans feel that way. They feel their vote doesn't count. There's a lot of disenfranchisement right now. People aren't even going to show up to vote next year, I fear. So we want free and fair elections. I think that's something that everyone as an American can agree on, and that's what we're looking for. And regardless of the results of this audit, regardless of what this audit tells us, we're asking for secure elections.
The election audit confirms Biden did win Maricopa County with an additional 363 votes in the presidential election. The mood here is kind of quiet. At the Capitol, Peyton Muse, Cronkite News.
Arizona Democratic officials gathered this morning at the Maricopa County Supervisor's office to share their thoughts on the Arizona election audit before the results were announced. Senate Minority Leader Rebecca Rios, House Minority Leader Reginald Boulding, and Maricopa County Supervisor Steve Gallardo shared their distaste for the whole process. Rios said the audit was an embarrassment for the Republican Party. Gallardo agreed, saying it was a waste of time and money.
Our elections were safe, secure, and accurate, and Donald Trump lost Arizona, period. There is nothing else we can do, nothing else that any of the consultants or election experts can do to change the minds of those folks that refuse to accept the fact that their candidate lost.
Boulding stated that this was purely an exercise by the Republican Party to capitalize on people's uncertainty. Arizonans are fed up with all the chaos and misinformation.
Are launching a new campaign coming out against the audit and changes in voting laws. The group Republicans for Voting Rights says this commercial will air during the Cardinals football game, as well as on Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC. Here's a clip.
We have to tell people the truth. There's no evidence of fraud and that Donald Trump lost the election. If you aren't willing to speak up now, as a Republican, when are you going to? You can't worry about your electoral prospects because we may not have a democracy by the time that you have a re-election.
The group says the video was put together to urge Arizona Republican leadership not to enact new voting rights restrictions in the state.
Hopes for immigration reform took a hit in Washington this week, with a Senate ruling that could make the road to passage harder. But that did not deter a group from Arizona, as Kimberly Silverio Bautista reports from our Washington bureau.
Between budget fights and an abortion bill, there was already a lot going on in Washington this week. But a group of immigration advocates from Arizona hope lawmakers can make room for another important issue: immigration reform. For Silverio Ontiveros of Promise, Arizona, it's an issue that needs to be addressed.
Wherever country they come from, where they've immigrated from, we are trying to help them all have a piece of the pie and give back to this country.
He was one of the 7 Promise Arizona members who were in Washington this week to urge the state's representatives to support an immigration reform plan that would grant a path to citizenship for millions of current dreamers, migrants brought here as children who have known no other home.
To find a path to citizenship for at least 8 million of our friends and families that are in the United States struggling.
Current proposals would also protect people here on temporary protected status from troubled countries like Haiti and Nicaragua. The group fanned out across Capitol Hill to meet with lawmakers. Soledad Avila was upbeat after a meeting with Democratic Representative Ruben Gallego.
He sitting with us and talking to us and explaining that he's okay with this bill. So he said that yes, we're gonna get something. So just we need a little bit more, like working more.
But hopes for immigration reform took a severe hit this week when the Senate parliamentary said the issue could not be lumped in with budget legislation. That means Democrats will need 60 votes, not just a simple majority, to pass any immigration policies, a nearly impossible feat in the evenly divided Senate. But that made the Arizona group push that much harder.
Well, we're going to try to continue our correspondence with our congressmen and again, encouraging them to find a path forward and pass legislation.
The group said they hope Congress can pass the reform measures they want this fall. But if not, they said they are ready to come back and lobby again for as long as it takes. In Washington, Kimberly Silverio Bautista, Cronkite News.
Despite the setback earlier this week, Senate Democrats have vowed to find a way to make immigration reform part of the administration's $3.5 trillion infrastructure package, but no plans have come forth yet.
Twice a day, every day, and all at the same time, weather balloons are launched across the world. They give scientists valuable information about what's going on weather-wise and what it means for us. Evan List tells us how this process works for Phoenix.
During the monsoon season in Arizona, it isn't uncommon to see massive thunderclouds towering to different heights in the sky. Some reach the top of the troposphere and spread out horizontally, while others only get to the middle before dying out. Scientists at the Salt River Project in Tempe launched our weather balloons during the summer to understand what's happening at these different levels of the atmosphere.
This is SVOMA, and I'm with Salt River Project, and we're about to launch a weather balloon.
As soon as SRP meteorologist Bo SVOMA gets approval from Phoenix Sky Harbor,
all right, we can launch it.
It's launch time.
Great. Probably could give it a little more.
Once the weather balloon is up, it starts collecting data about its surroundings using an attached device called a radio sonde.
Measures temperature, how much water vapor in the air, that's humidity, pressure, And then as it moves with the wind vertically, it measures wind speed and direction.
Outside of the summer, Flagstaff and Tucson National Weather Service offices are Arizona's exclusive locations for radiosonde launches. However, for Phoenix, SRP steps in during the hottest months with local balloon launches that provide valuable information. This was particularly helpful during our very active monsoon season.
There were a lot of thunderstorms at many times of the day, but particularly the ones at night are important because it's when they usually happen. And then we launched the weather balloon the next morning and can see how those thunderstorms impacted the atmosphere and how that might impact the high temperature that day.
The data helps SRP figure out efficient power supply operations. It also helps the National Weather Service.
That helps us a lot to get a sense, certainly in the summertime, when you're really trying to figure out thunderstorms, what kind of instability do we have? In other words, what kind of potential is there for thunderstorm development?
As the SRP weather balloon program wraps up with the end of monsoon season, so may the above average rainfall in Arizona.
We're looking like we're definitely going into a La Nina situation.
And that could be bad news for Arizona, as La Nina during winter usually means below average precipitation for us, and we rely on our wintertime precipitation in this state to help alleviate our drought conditions. I have good news during this forecast, though. A lingering storm system, it's bringing cloud cover and rain to the valley and many parts of the state. Looking through Sunday, you can see all those impulses of rain churning through the state. This storm system, it's cut off from the jet stream, meaning it's just going to kind of meander over us into the foreseeable future, which is going to push down our temperatures and bump up our rain chances. 95 degrees in Phoenix for a high tomorrow. Our average is 97, 95 degrees in Yuma. 70 degrees in Flagstaff. Going into the evening, we're going to see the clouds continue to alleviate, which will help us cool a little bit from the daytime heat that we did get in today. And we have some humidity, which will also act like a little bit of a blanket, meaning 85 degrees at 10 p.m. I said there was a 95-degree high tomorrow, but the temperatures are going to tumble from there. 97 degrees, as I said, is our average. We're going to be so far off from that because of this cutoff low in the next couple of days. Sunday, 83 degrees, storm conditions. We have chances of them with that low. Going into the beginning of next week, we have 90 degrees return, but we're still going to be far away from that 97-degree average. For now, I'm Evan List, live in the Cronkite News Weather Center.
I'm Amna Sapan. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. The Mercury are fighting to stay alive in their quest for a fourth WNBA championship.
Vietnam War. Because I could remember the day I watched us finally get the helicopters out thinking, okay, it's over, and then went to my college class. Next thing I know, I'm watching Ken Burns' Vietnam. And the thing that caught me so much was how he was talking to the winners, and this North Vietnamese general said, there's no winners in war. That just stopped me dead in my tracks.
For more information about including Arizona PBS in your future plans, visit azpbs.org/giving.
Cronkite News is more than your local news station. Through our innovative ideas, we create new ways to connect with our viewers and have their stories be heard. Our cutting-edge technology allows us to take a deeper dive into seeking the truth and delivering new perspectives. Stay up to date on top Arizona stories anytime on TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook at Cronkite News.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves. You know, I don't go anywhere without my passport. And now, thanks to PBS Passport, you can travel with me and watch all 10 seasons of Rick Steves Europe and all my travel specials. This exclusive streaming service is just for our members. Not only can you see all my shows, but you can see thousands of hours of your favorite public television shows. Become a member today and get your passport.
Welcome back. I'm Amna Sapan with your Cronkite Sports Report. The Mercury are still alive. They beat the New York Liberty last night by just 1 point in a single elimination game. Sophie Cunningham came off the bench and came up big for the Mercury, scoring 22 points on 6 of 9 shooting from 3. But the Liberty scored a triple of their own with 2.7 seconds left in the game. Then a whistle with just 0.4 seconds left gave the Mercury a shot at the free throw line. Brianna Turner sinks it in for the victory. The Mercury traveled to Seattle Sunday in another single elimination matchup. As the Mercury try to extend their season, the Coyotes are just getting started. It's fair to say that the team is in the middle of a teardown and rebuild, but that doesn't mean they can't win. General Manager Bill Armstrong explains why he's optimistic.
We built a hungry hockey team because there's everybody coming through the door this morning. Everybody has an opportunity to make the club and make an impact, but they also have to. There's veterans that need contracts next year. There's American League players that want to make the jump. Everybody has something that they're looking forward to get out of this season, and they're extremely hungry, along with a hungry coaching staff. So, you know, that's probably the message to the team, is that you've got a mix of different players coming in, but they're all hungry.
Arizona is off to a rough start, and it won't get any easier as they face third-ranked Oregon tomorrow on the road. The Wildcats have lost 15 straight after NAU beat them last weekend. Cronkite News reporter Amanda Shearer has more on what's going wrong in Tucson and the silence in the stands.
That's the sound of Arizona football fans disappointed as time runs out on yet another loss, this time against NAU.
We are in year one, game 3 of a 12-game season and of trying to build something over time here. And with that being said, yeah, of course, we're always going to be frustrated when the outcome's not what we want it to be, but we also recognize that we're going to try to see the forest through the trees and not get caught up in one game.
That loss at home to the Lumberjacks was their first to their in-state rival since October of 1932.
It's not something that we should look back at and dwell on. I mean, we got to grow from it, and that's what we're going to do. I mean, Coach Fish is just as embarrassed as us.
Headed into the season, Coach Fish was unsure of who his starting quarterback was going to be. 3 games in, they've used all 3 of their quarterbacks, and they're still unsure.
The biggest thing for the quarterback position is until we can start understanding what we're trying to get done on each play call, it's going to cause us a lot of consternation and a lot of change. And that's what I'm going to have to talk to all 3 of those guys about.
Despite the rocky start under the new coaching regime, Arizona is still hopeful for their games ahead.
I love the coaches here. I came here for a reason. Came here to play Power 5 football. Like, I came here to win. I came here to play hard. I came here to showcase and help the team win.
And hopefully those wins come sooner rather than later. From Tucson, Amanda Shearer, Cronkite News.
And that does it for this Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Carolina and Lauren.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight.
Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.